What's up everyone, it's DeagleBeagle, and today we're going to look at Articuno. So, there's a few different ways to use Articuno. You may be wondering, why use Articuno at all? Well, it has a specific niche of being faster than Glaceon. It has more special defense than Glaceon, but mainly its niche is probably having higher speed and having tailwind, because Glaceon can also run Bright Powder, Blizzard. It might even get Freeze Dry. Yeah, it does. So, you may also be wondering, why use Articuno and not Iron Bundle? Well, that's actually a good question. It's probably because a Snow Cloak is the main difference why somebody used Articuno, and I think he won a whole tournament with it. Clover Bells did a video on it. So, seems like abilities where the opponents miss their attacks are pretty good in Bright Powder in addition to that. So, it actually has a higher base stat total than Bundle. So, you can take a hit better, assuming you're not weak to more things, or 4 times weak to something, but you kind of are. But if they miss their move, then that doesn't even matter. But in Trick Room, Abomasnow by itself or Abomasnow and Glaceon would be better, even though Double Blizzard doesn't always make a ton of sense, especially if you don't have a lot of coverage with it. But the meta is so ice weak that it may not even matter that much, especially if you can have coverage with the rest of your team, possibly, even though 2 out of the Pokemon are like ice attackers, like Abomasnow and Articuno. So that is probably the main drawback, is not having enough offensive versatility. So let's see how we can solve that. So an ice flying Pokemon, we know it's 4 times weak to rock. It's weak to fire. It's weak to not fighting because it's part flying. It's 4 times weak to rock. It's weak to steel. So 4 things, 4 times weak to rock. And oh, no, it's weak to more than that. Yeah, electric too, because it's flying type. Not weak to ice because it's part ice. Yeah. So it's weak to 5 things, 4 times weak to rock. So, how can we solve that? Well, rock, fire, steel, electric. Yeah, did I say 5 things? I think I meant 4. Fire, rock, steel, electric. Yeah, that's 4. So, it's not actually as bad as I was thinking. So, something that would have few weaknesses is electric, and Terra Electric Blast would actually go pretty well with the offensiveness of Blizzard. So water is a common resistance to ice, and electric would help with that. Even though electric is kind of similar to ice versus the flying Pokemon. Okay, so but Bolt Beam's been great. So besides electric, and you don't have to use Terra Blast with it just because you use a defensive Terra, by the way. So fire. So already Dragon is looking good, but that won't give you resistances to rock or steel, but it'll give you resistances to fire and electric. What else resist fire? You wouldn't want fire because it'll still be weak to rock slide. Let's look at resistances to rock. fighting, but fighting doesn't resist that much. And then ground would get rid of its electric weakness, and you could even use Terrablast with it to have good coverage versus the types that resist ice. So ground is maybe the best typing offensively with ice, which is partly why Mamoswine was pretty good, but not usually top tier. So yeah, fire types, it would help versus steel types also, and do neutral to a lot of things. So offensive Terra versus defensive Terra. Offensive Terra, you would probably want ice for Blizzard, but if you're talking about coverage, then Terra Blast might be good, even though Freeze Dry can help versus the water types. And where was I going with this? We need to find a defensive Terra for Articuno. For some reason I was thinking Steel, but Steel is still weak to fire. It doesn't resist electric. It does resist steel, but I don't think steel... Well, steel actually is somewhat common with Heat Ram, but that wouldn't really help versus Heat Ram because it could just use Heat Wave. So you might want... You probably should have a Terra that actually resists the rock moves and maybe electric, because those are probably going to be the... Well, and fire too, I guess everything. Those are going to be the most common things to try to hit it. So, or at least you take away its biggest weakness if you're not weak to rock anymore. So, I think I already said some good Terras, but let me maybe just pick a good defensive one pretty soon. So, something versus Heat Ran, something versus... Who are the rock attackers? Not a ton of them, but those Pokemon... Tar would be a tough matchup in general. Like Canrock, you might not even want to bring Articuno to that. I'd probably just give up the rock weakness, because, I mean, give up using Articuno versus things that are too much of a counter for it, because it's not good to be like forced to Terra versus your 4 times weakness, and you don't necessarily do much back anyways, especially if they change the weather with tar like and rock stuff. So I'd probably just let it be kind of weak to rock and just focus on other things like fire, electric. Yeah, so maybe you could use Dragon, even though it is going to be weak to... That is if you don't use Terra Blast. But if you're going to use a spec set, you might want to use maybe electric or ground. Yeah, ground would be good actually to resist the rock weakness too. So you could use Terra Blast and then get rid of Tailwind, use Freeze Dry, and there you go. So you could use a Choice Specs one like that, but I don't think I personally would use Articuno with Choice Specs, because it just seems like you might as well use Bundle. But if you're using Articuno for its niche, which is more like Snow Cloak stuff with Bright Powder or Tailwind or Air Slash, that makes more sense to me than trying to use it like a Iron Bundle. So overall though, this Pokemon, Ice is the best offensively right now out of any other type, at least versus the newly released Pokemon. I think there's like 12 Pokemon that are weak to it, which is about half of them, of the good ones, or even more than maybe half. Like Landorus, Thundurus, both forms of Landorus, and Rillaboom, and a bunch of others. Rock is the second second type that's the best offensively at hitting them for weaknesses. So Articuno overall, I'd say is like medium tier, maybe high tier, but I don't know if I would recommend it. I would normally recommend Bundle instead because it's way faster. But if you want this specific niche, then I guess you can use Articuno. So thanks for watching.